Well, thank you all for coming. I'm grateful to be here today with some of Pennsylvania's finest. I'd also like to thank a number of good friends for being in the audience and speaking today. Sam DeMarco, State Senator Devlin Robinson, Ben Shapiro, and we're also going to have a representative from the Allegheny FOP, Mike Slonowski. Am I got that right, Mike?
Correct.
Okay, very good, Mike. Thank you. Let me begin by taking stock of where we are. The last time I did a press conference on crime, it was just a few weeks ago with the Allegheny County Fraternal Order of Police, who I was honored to get their endorsement. Just since then, just since that press conference, we've had news of a young woman walking her baby along the river in broad daylight when she was attacked by a homeless man with a knife. She called 911 and never heard back. She sent a letter to the mayor and director of public safety and her local council member. Not a single person has responded. The only person to report on this was my good friend Marty Griffin at KDKA. A 17-year-old boy was shot in Sheridan. Christian Sluka, 23, was hit by an illegal immigrant in Dormont and since died. One man was killed and at least 3 others injured in a shooting in McKees Rocks. Just since I had that press conference a couple weeks ago. That's just a sampling. Year over year, the picture isn't getting better. As of today, the city's already had 39 homicides in 2024. In 2019, the city by this time in the year had 31, so we're not at the pre-pandemic levels, crime levels yet. In 2023, there was a total of 170 shootings. That's still higher than pre-pandemic levels. In 2019, the number was 150 shootings for the entire year. Meanwhile, fentanyl is killing Americans in every community, including 4,000 fentanyl deaths in Pennsylvania. My wife and I had a chance to host some of those fentanyl families. We had them to our home in Squirrel Hill. I mean, you can't imagine the devastation of losing our young people to fentanyl. It's like somebody ripped your heart out, and most of them didn't even know they were taking fentanyl. It's all thanks to the open borders enabled by failed democratic policies. All this is to say our men and women in blue are doing their very best amidst this chaos. But liberal prosecutors and judges are making their jobs much harder. Case in point, the tragic murder very recently right here of one of PA's own, PA State Police, a liquor enforcement officer who served for 20 years. He was murdered right here because a judge released a violent criminal after he was charged with robbery. He was stabbed to death. Think about that. The alleged perpetrator was a known quantity, and a progressive judge named Xavier Orenstein had previously released him on non-monetary bail. And look at what that resulted in. When will this madness end? These soft-on-crime prosecutors, these soft-on-crime judges, radical policies like cashless bail, they are putting lives in danger, and they're putting our communities at risk. We've seen this play out in Philadelphia with Larry Krasner and what a devastation that's been for Philadelphia. And we're seeing it play out now in Pittsburgh. This is just another reason we need change in November. We have to restore law and order. We have to restore public safety. It's the foundation for healthy families. It's the foundation for healthy businesses. And we should start by getting rid of judges like Judge Xander Orenstein if he doesn't resign in disgrace. I'm sorry to say it, but these progressive judicial initiatives are directly responsible for the murder I just mentioned. This is not the first time Judge Orenstein has used progressive tactics. If we fail to act, we're going to see more preventable deaths like this senseless murder. Now, when I served in the military, there was an expectation that we did the job we were tasked with doing. And the same should be true for every judge charged with upholding the laws of the city, the state, and the federal government. And this is where I have to ask, where's Bob Casey? Has he said one word about the murder of this officer? Has he condemned these progressive policies or cashless bail? Has he expressed condolences for the fallen men and women in uniform? No. And you in the media that are here today should ask him why. The answer is Bob Casey's been in the Senate for 18 years, and he's repeatedly decided not to stand up for law and order. And as a result, he's left the people of Pennsylvania less safe. Now, I'd like to turn over the conversation to Mike first from the Allegheny Fraternal Order of Police. Then I'll turn to Sam DeMarco's Allegheny County Councilman. Then Devlin Robinson, who's been a real leader on these issues as the state senator for the 37th district. And then I'll ask my good friend Ben Shapiro to speak. Mike, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Sloanowski. I'm the president of FOP Lodge 91. We represent all the police departments in Allegheny County aside from Pittsburgh, which is Fort Pitt Lodge 1. Thank you, Dave, for having me out here today. I know this is a major issue with us. Judges like Magistrate Orenstein with their progressive policies like this. And unfortunately, it took him letting someone go and someone dying as a result. The officer that was mentioned. This is a horrible tragedy. It should have never happened. This isn't the first time Judge Orenstein has done things like this, light on crime, violent criminals. I know in September he released a resident from New York City who, without any type of bail, he was arrested for trafficking a large amount of cocaine. Allegheny County sheriffs spent $30,000 sending detectives to New York to retrieve him. Things like this are absolutely ridiculous, and we can't stand for this. And I think I speak for all the officers that I represent. If Magistrate Orenstein had any decency at all, he would stand down, just step down and resign from a position that he's completely proven that he's incompetent and inept at doing. I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for having me up here.
Ladies and gentlemen, government has no more important role than to secure the safety and the security of its citizens. And I can tell you right now that we are failing in that role. And it's due to the progressive policies and the far left judges and activists that are going into the judiciary. Last week, as a result of what had taken place here, I called for the immediate resignation or removal of District Judge Xander Orenstein. As you heard some of the other speakers say, this is a guy who let somebody who came to Pittsburgh and was arrested at the bus station with enough fentanyl to kill every man, woman, and child in Allegheny County, and he was let loose with non-monetary bond. This is a guy who let a guy, Hermes Craddock, who assaulted police officers by ramming their police cars. He let him go with non-monetary bail. He had to be retrieved from Florida at significant cost to the taxpayers. Money is one thing. We can raise money, but we can't replace the lives or repair the families that are wrecked by these criminals and that are out on the street because these far left judges are allowing them to be so. When Xander Orenstein let the person who committed this heinous act loose on non-monetary bail after being accused of felony robbery in Point State Park back in 2023, he did not require monetary bail, and they said pretrial services didn't recommend it. But pretrial services recommended that he be made to ensure that he continued his mental health treatment. But nothing was done. Xander Orenstein let him loose, and now we are where we are. I'm pleased that I called for his resignation last week, and I was joined by the Allegheny County Chiefs of Police Association, who issued a press release that I have for you here, saying that they join unanimously in supporting my efforts, the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 91, State Representatives O'Neill, Kulik, and Mihalik, and State Senator Devlin Robinson in our efforts to impeach or remove Xander Orenstein. Folks, when is enough going to be enough? It's time to stand up for our citizens, the hardworking taxpayers of this community, and these far left policies pushed by these Democrat politicians. We need change. We need change now. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's be clear. We're all here today because we care about this community. We care about where we live. And we're tired of watching innocent victims fall prey to predators after they've already been arrested. This is the second time as state senator that I've taken the oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Once as a Marine, and now as a state senator. Keep in mind, that is the same oath of office that a magisterial district judge will take to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Nowhere in that oath does it say that anyone is allowed to adjudicate by a political ideology. If they want to do that, they should run for our offices. Because we're in a fight. We're in a fight for the future of our communities. And all these people standing behind me, my good friend Tim O'Neill, has taken that oath of office in the United States Army. And my good friend Valerie Gatos has taken that oath of office in the House of Representatives. All of these people are out here because they care and they don't want to see the community go by the wayside. This is all we have, and that's why now is the time for choosing. Thank you.
So I don't make it a habit to go out on the campaign trail with candidates. This is the first election cycle where I've done so, and Dave was my first call when I figured that I was going to do that, because Dave McCormick must be the senator from the state of Pennsylvania. What we're talking about right now, all of these terrible events, these are local symptoms of national problems. These national problems are created very often in Washington, D.C. with the help of rubber stamps for the Biden-Harris agenda, like Bob Casey. The reality is, I've been down on the southern border. I've seen the wide open southern border. I've talked to members of Border Patrol, and they attest to the fact that our national border policy is a full-scale disaster because of Joe Biden and because of Kamala Harris. It is causing not only vast amounts of illegal immigration with its attendant crime problem, but also the shipping of fentanyl into the country. Just a few months ago, I had the opportunity to visit Kensington with my staff and see what things are like in parts of Philadelphia. The impact of what happens at the border. An open border means dead Americans in Kensington. It means dead Americans in this area of the state. It means dead Americans across the board. It means people who are being wounded and killed for no reason. That's what an open border means. And when you combine that with the soft on crime policies of the national government, a national government that is seeking to cram down consent decrees on police departments, put restrictions on the police, the people who stand between the normal citizens, people like me, and the bad people who are coming to do bad in the night, when all of the ire and all the anger is brought against the police, what you get is less policing of crime. What you get is more crime. The crime story in this country has been out of control for years. It is still significantly worse than it was pre-pandemic, and there is a reason for that. That policy is not just shaped at the local level, as we're hearing, it's also shaped at the national level. And again, a rubber stamp for that policy every step of the way has been Senator Bob Casey. He needs to go. It's why Dave McCormick needs to be your senator from Pennsylvania. It's why I'm out here today. I really appreciate Dave actually taking up the mantle and running for office and doing this thing, because it's necessary to change the direction of the country. We are at an inflection point on the issue of crime, and either it's going to get better or it's going to get worse, and that choice is in the hands of the voters.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Devlin. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Valerie. Sam, thank you for your leadership. Mike, thank you. Thank you for what you're all doing. And I'll just bring this to an end. Thank you for everyone for the powerful comments today. We've spent time talking about a senseless murder and the need for change. But unfortunately, as Ben just said, Bob Casey and Kamala Harris's weak liberal record, from policing the border to soft on crime policies, are making it more dangerous for our Commonwealth. Bob Casey recently accepted the endorsement of a defund the police group in Philadelphia. He says that the problem is there's systematic racism in our police force. He said that and he's sided with BLM. Tim Walz let Minneapolis and St. Paul be burned by rioters, and Kamala Harris encouraged Americans to donate money to the Minnesota Bail Fund. They all think that the problem is the police, not the criminals. It's time to respect law enforcement and lock up the criminals. Then there's the border. As Ben just said, 10 million illegal immigrants have crossed the border under their watch. They've included known terrorists, human traffickers, and thousands of tons of fentanyl. We saw a statistic recently, a released statistic from the Department of Homeland Security that said that 28,000 convicted murderers and convicted rapists were knowingly released in the United States. Immigration and Customs Enforcement recently confirmed that there's a total of 13,000 convicted of homicide. These were caught at the border. Another new study estimates that illegal immigration will cost us, as U.S. taxpayers, $1.15 trillion. Think about the physical and economic toll of this border crisis on our communities. It cannot continue. Every single American, every single Pittsburgher, every single person in Allegheny County, every single person in our Commonwealth deserves to feel safe where they live and work, but dangerous rhetoric and lax public safety policies are hurting the Commonwealth, and that's why the stakes in this election couldn't be higher. Now, I didn't wear a particular law enforcement uniform, but I wore a uniform in the 82nd Airborne Division. I know what it means to serve and sacrifice something for the safety and security of the American people. And if you elect me as your next senator, I'll work day and night to support our men and women in law enforcement. That's why I was so honored to get not only the endorsement of the Allegheny Fraternal Order of Police, but the state Fraternal Order of Police and the Sheriff's Association. So over 44,000 men and women in blue have switched their endorsement from Senator Casey to me. And the reason is that I'm going to fight to make sure our law enforcement has what it needs, to make sure we have tough-minded judges that lock up criminals, to make sure that our amazing city of Pittsburgh and Allegheny County don't fall from grace. Getting that right means continuing to revitalize our downtown, keeping small businesses in the city, keeping families safe, keeping our streets safe. Pennsylvanians are demanding change. They're demanding leadership, and that's what I aim to bring.